Well, hey, friends, I'm excited to dive in a little bit deeper today into the topic of clarity. So, I know in the remix moment this week, we talked about clarity versus certainty. And I hope you're enjoying these new shorter episodes. But for this Thursday, I wanted to dive into clarity, and clarity is king. So, we're going to talk about who you are, getting clarity around who you are, where you are, where you're going, why it's important to you, and how to get there. Welcome to the Mompreneur Life Remixed podcast, where you will learn how to remix your mompreneur life so that you can win at work without losing yourself in the process. Hi, my name is Martine Williams, and I am your host and CEO, your Chief Encouragement Officer. And this podcast is your one-stop shop to creating a burnout-proof life and business and elevating your clarity, confidence, and courage. Friends, it's time to say goodbye to being the yes girl and hello to creating healthy boundaries, healthy mindsets, and healthy habits. Your next breakthrough starts here. This is the Mompreneur Life Remixed podcast. Let's do this. So you can't hit a target you cannot see, and you cannot see a target you do not have. That is a quote by Zig Ziglar. He's one of my favorites to quote. If you're new here, hi, my name is Martine Williams, and I love quotes. I often have many of my coaching clients that say I should write an entire book just filled with quotes because I have all these one-liners. And for me, it gives me something really short and powerful to focus on. It helps me to have direction sometimes. And it just reminds me of a positive thought or a positive direction that I want to go in. So that's why I love little small quotes and things to kind of keep my brain on. So clarity, the quality of being clear and easy to understand, see, and hear. I've seen that definition before, and it really does unlock the direction of your life so that you can achieve anything you've ever imagined. So I want you to think about where you are right now with this topic of clarity. And maybe you've had the mindset shift. I'm no longer looking for certainty and know that I'm going to get 100% results with X, Y, and Z. You fill in the blank there. Or because I don't have all the details and the plans, I'm not going to move forward. Hopefully you've had that shift over the last couple of days if you listen to Monday's episode. And so now it's about clarity. And I want you to think about if you don't have clarity, you really are mindlessly going through the motions, and you're probably following the herd without a meaningful destination. So you're following what everyone else is doing. You're following what you see someone on social media is doing as a mompreneur. Maybe you're following what someone in the PTA or someone in the car line that you talk to, a mom, you're following what she's doing. Or maybe you haven't had any conversations. You're just observing what other people are doing, and you're trying to adopt those same habits, activities, mindsets, beliefs, and you don't really have a meaningful destination. If that's you, this episode is for you because it really is so powerful when you can get really clear on the things we're going to talk about today. So today is the day that we're going to get clear on all of these things. So I was at a conference, I think it was last year, maybe even the year before. And I came across the guy that was presenting, and he was talking about how he had this mentor at the time, and they were, working together pretty closely, and he was on target. He was reaching his goals. And then he had this shift where he kind of pulled away from that. He was no longer meeting with the guy. And I can't remember all the details of the situation, but they were no longer kind of in that tight mentorship. And so he started creating some bad habits again. He fell into some bad habits. He fell into some poor decisions that he was making. And so he kind of got to the end of his rope, and he called his mentor. His mentor he hasn't talked to in a couple of years. And he was sharing all the things with him. And I thought it was really powerful what his mentor said to him. He said, where you are is simply where you are. It's not who you are. And so no matter where you are right now, as you listen to this podcast, if you have been in a season where you are just following the herd, or you're unclear and things are really muddy, and maybe you've made some bad decisions because of that, because you're not really clear on the things we're going to be talking about today. I just want to encourage you that where you are is just simply where you are. It's not who you are. And you have the opportunity to make a different decision. You have the opportunity to think a new thought. You have the opportunity to take a new action. And action is what will bring clarity. And then clarity creates confidence. And then confidence creates more action. And more action, it just creates more confidence. And it's just a loop, right? But it all starts with action, listening to this podcast, taking action. And you're going to get some clarity today. So when you think about you, what are your strengths? What are your passions? What are your superpowers? Do you ever ask yourself, like, who am I? What do I have to bring to the table as a mom, a wife, a leader, a friend? We all tend to be our worst critic, right? We talk down to ourselves. We say things to ourselves that we would never say to our worst enemy. And we need to learn to celebrate who we are, the gifts and talents given to us, and embrace and utilize them to their fullest potential. And there honestly is no greater joy for me as a coach and a speaker than to see a woman increase her confidence in who she is as a person, not based on her title, not based on her performance, but just who she is. And I remember when I first launched Choose You, some of you that have been with me from the very, very beginning, you know, that was my very first course that I launched. And as people were joining the group, I had them introduce themselves. And they introduced themselves based on what they did. And it was really interesting to see that kind of play out. And so I actually had them reintroduce themselves as who they are. Because what you do is not who you are. What you do may be an entrepreneur. What you do may be a mom. But who you are is in the characteristics that God created you with. So you're not here by mistake, and you have a unique way to impact your family, your community, your teams. And I want to kind of hang out here for just a second. So what are your strengths? You've heard me talk about the Pro Scan. It is the work that I do. It's the foundation of my coaching that really helps to go into a lot of detail on this topic. Like a lot of detail, meaning like a 24-page report is produced from a Pro Scan survey. But I want you to just think about, when you think about what your strengths are, what would you say are your top maybe 3 to 5? I want you to write them down. Like, what do people constantly come to you for? What do you find super easy to do? It just comes natural to you. So, for example, I know my superpower is encouraging others. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to work up to it. I don't have to get better at it. It's just the gift. My main superpower that the Lord has given me is the ability to connect and encourage people. And so I have built my business on relationships because that is my strongest strength, is my ability to build relationships. Now, you might be someone who is analytical. You take charge. You love figuring things out, and you love numbers. Or maybe you are the person who is more of that supportive role. You're more of the collaborator. You like to work on a team. Like, I really want you to think about, whether it's in your professional life or in your personal life, what are those things that just come easy to you? I want you to write those down. And I want you to ask yourself, does this strength help me serve others? Has it been present throughout most of my life? Do others see it? So people are constantly complimenting you on it, or they come to you for it because they know, like, you're the woman for the job. Do you feel energized when you're living out this strength? Like, I'm telling y'all, I get so pumped up with the opportunity to encourage you here on the podcast. I get so pumped up when I think about workshops like the one that I just held this past week. And we'll put the link to that workshop for you to go back and listen to the replay in the show notes. It's all about reset, refocus, and re-energize for success, since we're coming out of the summer and going into the fourth quarter. Like, I get so energized when I'm able to live out the strength, because I know, yes, I'm going to be providing content. Yes, I'm going to be providing tips for you on the podcast, but I know without a shadow of a doubt, you're going to leave this podcast feeling more encouraged than if you didn't listen to the episode. Like that energizes me. Does it come natural to you most of the time? Like you don't even have to think about doing it. Again, I don't even have to think about encouraging others. It's just who I am. Another question you could ask is when you're operating in this strength, it feels like it's the core part of who you are. So just take some time and just journal or write out like who you think you are. Like, what are some of your natural strengths? It could be that you're innovative. It could be that you're a decisive person. It could be that you are a big picture thinker, less detailed, like open-minded. You're independent, free-spirited. There's so many things that could describe you. And I want you to take some time and think, am I utilizing this strength to build my business, to cultivate healthy habits, and to cultivate healthy relationships? Maybe some other words for you could be that you're sincere, that you are self-assured. There's lots of different ones that you could be thinking about, but I want you to get really clear on what those strengths are. Now, if you want to get super duper clear and have a 24-page detailed report, you're going to want to consider getting on a free clarity call because we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the process. And that is a part of my Illuminate You coaching. It's the foundation of my coaching. And I honestly believe every person should take the Pro Scan. It's superior in personality and performance assessments. I can't say it enough. Okay. So that's who you are. The second clarity question is, where are you? Hey friend, can I give you permission today? Like for real, your own permission slip. Permission to get clear, to cut out the noise, mostly the noise that is going on around in your own mind, in your own head. It's just swirling. And you're asking yourself questions like, why am I stuck? Why am I frustrated? Why am I not making progress on my goals? I want to invite you to a free clarity call with me where we're going to dive in and we're going to identify what are the three main issues that are keeping you stuck. Number two, what are the mindsets around those issues that are actually keeping you from solving for those issues? It's not our skill sets, it's our mindsets that keep us stuck and hold us back. And then number three, identifying what are your next steps? We all have a next step and we have 100% responsibility for those next steps. Your only next step right now is to go to the show notes and book your free clarity call so that we can work through this. I'm believing in you and I cannot wait to see you on our clarity call. You take 100% responsibility for your life. You cannot change the circumstances, the seasons, or the wind, but you can change yourself. That's a Jim Rohn quote, I'm pretty sure. So self-awareness is key to taking your next steps. I want you to think about E plus R equals O. And I've talked about this on the podcast, but it's a really good time of year to revisit it. And this came from Jack Canfield's Success Principles. And he talks about the E is the event, right? The R is the response to the event, which is what equals the outcome. I also believe that the story we tell ourselves about the E, about the event, is also what impacts our response and then the outcome. So I want you to be really thinking about where you are right now. Where are the areas of your life? This is how you can get some clarity. What are the areas of your life? If you had to go through the 10 key areas of your life, and I do this with every single one of my clients to help them identify what their key priorities are. When you think about the key areas of your life, and I'm going to give those to you. So whether it's your physical health, your mental health, it could be your finances, it could be your relationships like romance, it could be your work and your purpose, all the different areas of your life. I want you to be thinking about how is your joy in those areas. So it could be space and environment. It could be love and romance, hobbies and recreation, your friends and your family, your finances, again, spirituality and your faith, your personal development and work and purpose. Like take some time and really think through, how are you doing in those areas? Do you feel content, mostly content? Do you feel like there's so much areas of opportunity for those? That helps you to get out of the all or nothing mentality. It helps you to get really clear on, okay, I may have like 6 areas out of the 10 that I want to focus on, but you cannot focus on all of them at one time. So what's maybe the 1 or 2 that if you spent some time focusing on would have a domino effect on the others? So now you know where you are, You evaluate those 10 key areas. You know what you want to focus on. So now it's where you're going. Where are you going? Why is that important to you? And this goes into knowing your motive. So when you realize what your lowest one is, if you go through those 10 key areas and you kind of rate them on a scale of 1 to 10, and you know which one is your lowest, or you probably don't even have to rate it. You can just look at the words and be like, yep, that's the one. Then I want you to give yourself some time, 30, 60, 90 days to focus in on that key priority and give yourself some clear action steps to impact that. Because when we say things like, I just want to be healthier, or I'm just going to work more this year, or I'm just going to spend more time with my kids, our brains really can't capture something that is so loose like that. It has to have it clearly defined, or our brains just don't know quite what to do with it. It doesn't know how to measure it. So give it dates, give it times. What exactly will you do? Our brains love instructions, y'all. So tell it what to do, give it really clear, specific guidelines. And this is the work that most people don't do. Again, they get in that herd and they just follow what everyone else is doing. And they realize after hustling that they actually have their ladder up against the wrong wall. Like they're climbing up to a destination that's not even really where they want to go, or what would be more fulfilling for them. And inside, they're dying a slow death because what should be fulfilling for them isn't. And they just haven't slowed down long enough to figure out what really matters to them. You haven't figured out what really matters to you. So do this work. Get really clear on this so that you can prioritize what you're spending your time on and you don't go into straight up hustle mode. Okay. So now, why is it important to you? Let's get really clear on why it's important to you. And I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this because I have talked about this most recently on the podcast, and I have a whole Rev Up Your Dreams guide to help you get clarity around the why. And so you can go to martinewilliams.com/guide, I think, and we'll put that in the show notes for you. But clarity around the plan, around what you're going to do, comes from your emotional why. I like to refer that as to your motor. Your motive is your motor. So what are your motives for growing your business in Q4? What are your motives for maybe some health goals you have for Q4? What are your motives around how you're going to spend more quality time with your family? What are your motives maybe around investing in yourself for the first time and getting a coach or joining a program? The quality of your answers and results come from the quality of the questions that you ask. So what is your motive? And most people we hear tell the what, but they don't tell the why. And they don't know what the real reason is, and reasons will equal results every single time. So I want you to really think about what are your motives and commit to it, because that creates focus, it creates energy, it creates passion, and it acts like a compass to keep you on track. It's what creates the perspective and the perseverance when your goals seem too big and too far away. I can promise you, and I've said this before, like I never dreamed that I would be where I'm at today and have the successful business that I have today. But my why and my motive for doing the things and showing up and failing over and over and over again and achieving one goal at a time, it's all powered by my motive. It's the motor that keeps me going, and it helps you shift from should I to how will I, right? Being in possibility versus being in the problem. So I want you to decide what your motive is, and I want you to keep asking questions so you can get super, super clear on what your dreams are, what your motives are. And just for Q4, like you can go beyond it. It's good to dream big and think beyond, but maybe for some of you that feels too hard to do. So what could you just set as your motive for the end of the year, until the end of the year? Because there have been times where I have felt fatigued. There have been times where I have felt unmotivated, uninspired, all of those things. And this is something I talk about in the workshop that I did this week, but it comes back to the reset, the refocus, and the re-energize. And the way I do that, the way I re-energize is going back to my why and revisiting why I'm willing to put myself through uncomfortable situations and try new things. It's because I have a real reason why I'm doing it. And I know what it is. And it's not just a what. Oh, I want to be coach. I want to have a successful business. No, it's the deeper why of helping women to stand confidently in who God created them to be and to use those strengths to align with their goals, to align with the life that they're trying to design, and to not burn themselves out in the process, because burnout comes from not having the confidence around who you are. It comes from trying to be someone you're not. It comes from overworking to prove versus being in that confident energy. And you've heard me talk about confident and proving energy before, but that's where it comes from. I was just having conversations with a client about this today. And I mean, we've had 3 calls, and it's amazing by her seeing her pro scan and her really understanding who she is and how she operates naturally, the confidence level that she has and the results that she's getting, like in the first 3 calls in her business, because now she has a different perspective, a different mindset, and she's no longer thinking she's inadequate. She's no longer believing that she is not enough. She's seeing who she is. And that is why. That is my motive. That is my why. That's my deep reason why. There's nothing that brings me more joy than doing that. That's where you have to get to, whether it's a fitness goal, whether it's a business goal, whether it's a relationship goal. Like, you've got to get to the root cause, the root reasons for it, because that is what will bring the results every time. So dig deep. I want you to really challenge that and think through what that is for you. Okay. So you can go get the guide. The guide will give you some questions to ask yourself to help you kind of dig deep and discover your why, martinewilliams.com/guide. But take some time and do that work. So our next question is, okay, we know who you are. We know where you are. We know where you want to go, but how are you going to get there? What is the clarity around how you're going to get there? And this is where, y'all have heard this before, SMART goals. Sometimes we complicate things. We talked about that 2 weeks ago. It's really down to this: setting specific, measurable, accountable, realistic, and goals with a time frame. And state it in a positive language, like what you desire versus what you want to avoid. Set goals and focus your activities on your activities and habits versus the results. I had a long conversation with someone about this. One of my clients, I think it was a client, we were talking about resetting her goals based on activity, not just the end results. So I want you to think about that as you're setting your SMART goals. What activity could you set that's very clear that you know you're going to do every single day, that you can, at the end of the week, regardless if you got the outcome that you wanted, you could celebrate the activity. That is what setting goals focused on activities and habits versus results will give you. It'll give you progress. And so I want you to ask yourself each day, what can I do today to get me closer to that goal? And I want you to stick to that. I want you to stick to those activities and be clear on what you're doing each day. Be clear on, I'm going to measure this. I'm going to track this. I'm going to evaluate this and find out what's working, what's not working. When motivation is lacking, it will be your daily discipline and habits that will rule the day. So what are those daily disciplines and habits and non-negotiables that you will set in place? What was that key priority that you need to set these SMART goals around to help you to work through? And then how are you motivated? Like, some of us are motivated intrinsically. I'm very much an intrinsic motivated. Desires come from having a reason that matters to me. That's what intrinsic is. Extrinsic is kind of outside, tangible things. So maybe it's a trip. Maybe it's the paycheck. Maybe it's, some other tangible things. But knowing how you're motivated, and this is something that the Pro Scan will actually give you a list of, like, what your unique motivators are and in the strengths of your personality. It's really, really cool to see that. But knowing how you're motivated can help you get there. That can be a tool in your tool belt on how you will get there. And there's no shame. If you're someone who it's the money that motivates you, there's no shame in that. And if you're someone who's like, no, I'm just more motivated by the desire that comes from having that reason that matters to me, let that be your motivation. There's no right or wrong here. It's just knowing what yours is. And then I want you to think about theming it out. So theme work is a method many coaches and often companies use to create vision, direction, or sometimes solve problems or complex issues. So there's so many competing priorities. So where do you start? Where do you focus on? How do you choose direction? What does success look like? What is your plan? Individual goals wrapped around a common theme become more powerful and most often are achieved effectively and more quickly than unattached individual goals, kind of line listed on a sheet of paper. So theme helps you focus. It sets the tone for the year, or maybe for us, it's setting the tone for the last quarter. It gives you an easy way to make decisions about where you invest your time and your energy because there's going to be lots of options. And so themes help you focus and also act as a filter. So focus and a filter. Once your theme is set, then all you need to do to use it is ask yourself one of these questions. Does this action I am about to take support my theme? Will this help me have more of my theme in my life? Those are powerful questions to ask yourself. When someone presents something to you and they want you to do this, and you're used to being the yes girl, if you ask yourself this question, does this action or this commitment I'm about to take support my theme? Will this help me have more of my theme, whatever that theme is, in my life? If the answer is no, then it's a no for now. That's where you get that empowered no. That's where you get the courage to say no. So as you look at who you are, where you're going, why it's important to you, what emerges for you? What patterns do you see in what you seek to accomplish in this Q4? What underlying thought is swimming as you've been listening to this podcast? Maybe you've been writing down some notes. Like, what underlying thought is swimming just below the surface of your desires? Is there a phrase or a word that would keep you focused and excited? I know we do like this word of the year, but maybe you haven't done that, or maybe you did and you've let go of it. Like, what could it be for just this next quarter? So some examples could be like a season of healthy living, a season of healthy relationships. Maybe this is the season of promotions, like you're going to be focused on promoting if you're in a direct sales business, or maybe you're in corporate business and you want to promote up the ladder. Maybe this is the season of developing others. Maybe this is the season of investing in yourself. And so anything that doesn't point to that is a no. So what theme or phrase would give you some clarity, keep you focused, and keep you motivated? Once you've decided that, I want you to make it visual. I'm a big time visual learner. And so I love being able to create some type of vision board of some sort. It doesn't have to be one you spend all day doing, crafting and all of that. It can be if you enjoy that stuff, but how can you make it visual? Is it just a picture you put on your phone? Is it a picture you put on your desk? Is it a quote that's on your desk? See what you want and get what you see. Jack Canfield said that in Success Principles. Imagination is everything. It is the preview of coming attractions, Albert Einstein. So the visualization, or the act of creating a compelling and vivid picture in your mind, may be the most underutilized success tool you possess, because it greatly accelerates the achievement of any success in 3 powerful ways. So the 3 powerful ways are: it activates the creative powers of your subconscious mind when you have a visual. It brings new ideas and creative solutions. The second thing is it focuses your brain by programming its RAS, which is the reticular activating system, to notice available resources that were always there, but were previously unnoticed. It's kind of like when you have your heart set on a certain car, and you didn't notice them before, but now you have your heart set on it. You see them everywhere. Same thing. Visualization magnetizes and attracts you to the people, resources, and opportunities you need to achieve your goal because it's visual. You will start waking up in the morning with new ideas. You'll find yourself having ideas in the shower, while you're taking long walks, exercising, or while you're driving around. The RAS, at any one time, there are 8 million bits of information streaming into your brain, most of which, obviously, we cannot attend to, nor do we need to. So our brain's RAS filters most of them out, letting into your awareness of only those signals that can help you survive and achieve your most important goals. That's why it's important to be very clear on what those are. To have the visual helps to bring more clarity around that. So you may be asking, how does the RAS know what to let in or filter out? It lets anything in that will help you achieve your goals that you have set and constantly visualized and affirmed. It also lets in anything that matches your beliefs and images about yourself, others, and the world. This is why I talk about mindset so much. This is why I talk about belief so much, and why that's the first thing. You have to believe that it's possible so that you can direct, so that RAS can do the work to show you those possibilities and show you those opportunities. It's a very powerful tool. but it can only look for ways to achieve the exact pictures that you give it. Your creative subconscious doesn't think in words. It can only think in pictures. So how does this help your effort to become more successful and achieve the life of your dreams? Like, how does that work? When you give your brain specific, colorful, and vividly compelling pictures to manifest, it will seek it out and capture all the information necessary to bring that picture into reality for you. If you give it pictures of a beautiful home, an adoring husband, an exotic vacation, a promotion, it'll get to work achieving those things. By contrast, if you're constantly feeding it negative, fearful, anxious pictures, guess what? It'll achieve those things too. And I don't want you to get caught up in a right or wrong way to do this, to build a visualization for yourself. But it can be fun. It can be done as a family. It can be, y'all know, I've said this before, I'm not a crafty girl. Thinking about scrapbooking and putting together a visual, a dream board or a vision board. And I've done them multiple times over the years and leading my team and going to company events, but it's not something I get excited to do. But having a photo, a single photo, having quotes, having just my own self-coaching journal for me to go back and read, like the possibilities, read the impact of my coaching, read the thoughts that I'm believing right now, is what helps me and helps my brain to get to work, to do those things, to become super clear. So I want you to think about those things on how you will get there. How are you going to use your brain to work with you versus against you? And I just had a long conversation with a client about this, on how, because she made a decision that she was no longer going to live in an environment, not live, but like hang out in an environment with this group of people who were negative, and they were seeing the problem for every solution. There was a problem they had for it. And because she's made the decision now to not be there, the impact it's made on her results, it's remarkable. And I don't want you to downplay the power of your own brain, the power of your own thoughts and your beliefs. And so how you will get there, yes, it's goals, it's setting clear priorities, it's having a plan. But most importantly, it's how are you managing your brain around your plan? How are you managing your brain around your thoughts about your plan and about your ability to achieve? Really, really important. Getting clear on that. Okay. So that is all I wanted to share with you today, to help you to kind of dive into, okay, what does clarity look like? How do we dive into that? What are some things I need to get clear on? So I hope that was helpful for you. I hope that you will not just, again, be hearers of this information, but be doers of this information, because knowledge is safety for the brain. And you can feel so good when you leave these podcasts. You feel so good after you read a book, but it's the implementation of what you're learning that might be uncomfortable, but that is the way through to the result. And I'm believing in you always, and I will catch you on the next episode. Well, that's a wrap, friends. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. I really hope it met you right where you are and gave you some encouragement for your day. Could you do me the biggest favor and leave me a rating and review? Seriously, it's the best way for you to support the show. And while you're there, be sure to follow the show so you never miss an episode. Thanks again. And until next time, I am believing in you always.